I gotta say, Jobless Reincarnation, we're 5 weeks into this Isekai adventure, and I'm always craving more. This episode really impressed me because we get introduced to the one character who I thought we weren't gonna see for a little bit, because honestly, initially, when you hear about the mother and the maid being pregnant, I was like, okay, one of these characters is going to be this Eris character, this one that's listed on my anime list. Every tracking site has Grey Rat as the last name. That's going to be a sister-sibling dynamic. That's what I thought they were going to. And then we get introduced to the cousin, and that happens to be her. She's already grown up, and she's already a little spiteful, and I'm like, oh, here's a dere trope where we haven't seen quite yet. And you know damn well this show's gonna commit to like a will they, won't they dynamic, because this is a series that isn't gonna beat around the bush, that there's no way in hell that our boy Rudy is going to play by the mother's mindset of being with one partner. This man is gonna play the field, I can guarantee at this point. But I have to say, in terms of an introduction to a tsundere type character, someone who's very hot-tempered, someone who honestly hates her guts from the minute you start out, I thought they did a pretty solid job at turning that trope on its head to say, okay, you understand why she kind of sort of appreciates Rudy as a character without fully dropping the act, and fully dropping the act probably isn't going to happen overnight, if ever. I think they did a great job at kind of like setting up the future of the show, at least for what will probably be the first core of this anime, before we then wait for summer to wrap up what is the first season of many seasons of Jobless Reincarnation. This is a show that I think you can definitely understand where so much influence has come from other series taking a look at Jobless Reincarnation and seeing how they were either influenced in a good way or influenced in a bad way. And the influence in a bad way is not understanding that you can't just have a snotty, loudmouth brat of a character and that's all you need to hook in the viewers. You gotta have her have a character arc, you have to have her actually have a personality past that initial gimmick. And that's exactly what she has in this episode. She is loud, she is violent, and our boy Rudy slaps her right back and then she pummels him even more. Honestly, when we initially got into the kidnapping scene, when you knew something was amok, I was like, okay, either this is a real kidnapping or the father has fully had enough of the bratty daughter and this is just, you know, we're in like a medieval time period. Kicking away the brattiness is just seen as a-okay. But I was more leaning on the kidnapping being a real thing this time around, especially considering right before they went to bed, you get this one ominous look on the one servant there. I still have to say, I love what they're able to do with an introduction of saying, hey, you know, we got you a job, kid. Yeah, you're gonna be gone for 5 years. You've been a little too dependent on your best friend here. She's been a little too dependent on you, which I honestly personally disagreed with, but you know, nature of the business, they came to an understanding through letters, so let them be. But it was interesting because you just are sitting there, you're reading a letter as you have abs upon abs upon abs, sitting there menacingly saying, I hate your father, and you're just trying to not end up with your head on a pike or something because it seems like one wrong move you could definitely get on her bad side. But she also seemed like a nice person as long as you didn't kind of remind her of your father, you're probably a-okay. But I did like the kind of bonding sequence where like, they are just talking about how, like, they're gonna send that letter to the mother because he's saying, like, hey, she's mine. And I'm like, my man, you already got in trouble once. You already kind of destroyed the family. You gotta keep it in your pants if you want to stay with that woman. Otherwise, you're not gonna be with that woman for much longer. But, I mean, the fact that they're constantly able to just have these, like, humorous moments on top of pretty scummy moments is just amazing to me. It's so great to see what they're able to accomplish by like kind of expanding the world, because as of right now, from episodes 1 to 4, we were in one little village, and I don't think many people were bored of the village because there's always something happening despite it being kind of like that small town dynamic. But by like literally putting yourself in a miniature kingdom by the looks of it, you have the ability to really start expanding more and more. And I think, you know, there was this moment that kind of gave me like a Full Metal Alchemist vibe when like Rudy's kind of chasing after her and then he's like using the ground and like throwing up these walls. It's great to just see the different landscapes because even though they're still in the same world, the difference of architecture from this little village that's kind of like in the middle of nowhere to these like cities kind of bursting with life and just the structure is completely different. I love how they're able to expand the world in this very casual way because our boy was a small town kid, is now in the big city life, and that's not even probably big city in comparison to larger and larger capitals and things like that. Just look at Roxy's letter from the other week where she's like talking about the person that she's training, and you just see this giant landscape full of buildings and architecture. The show knows how to keep you engaged and really kind of continue to flesh it out, and I think if you were to look at last week, you would say, is Rudy really ready to train other people, especially outside of his small town village? In this episode, they flexed his magic abilities to the point that even I was surprised by how good he was. I knew he was skilled, but I mean, there has been some doubts even in his own mind saying like, you know, is there really anything else I can do? I'm not really improving anymore. And yeah, you can always bring up, well, he hasn't gone to official school, he needs to learn more and more. But at the same time, I was wondering, are they going to go the direction that maybe he's not as capable with magic as he thought he was at the beginning? And then you get to see him cast so many different spells that were so cool, from using like clumps of rock into like a dust bomb, to then like throwing fireballs, to making explosions as a firework decoy to sound the alarms, to even just the idea of how he like melted the rocks around the gate there so he could pull off the guard and they could jump through a window. There was a lot of really subtle details that really flex just how capable he is as a mage, and I really appreciate that. In terms of the Eris as well as Rudy dynamic though, I loved it. I mean, tsundere dynamics, I know some people really do not like the tsundere dynamics, the one that are very hot-tempered and throw it in your face, or in the case of this, will actually punch you in the face and you punch her back and then she plopples you more to the point that you're just kind of wishing you could go home. I really liked how she had that feistiness, but immediately you understood that she wasn't going to be one of those characters that you could just do one good deed and she would immediately flip over and say, okay, I love you, and, you know, I'm just going to immediately want to marry you. You know, it's probably going to build up to that eventually, but the idea of her saying, like, for now you can call me by my name because of everything that transpired, and even in the middle of after they escaped, she's been kind of raised as what seems to be a spoiled brat princess who really can do no wrong by her father's eyes and just will keep trying to get new tutors. There's no way that personality should change overnight. So if you like her initial gimmick, you're going to have fun with her from minute one. But if you despise that type of personality, you're already starting to see growth past that, where she is hot-tempered, she is feisty, but at the same time, she can respect those who are actually skilled. I think her biggest foil is that she doesn't give people the time or the day to prove that they have that ability, because how many teachers probably could have taught her what Rudy's already shown her at the beginning, and that is that magic can be really, really impressive and you want to learn by me and things like that. I just think it's great how they're able to introduce what usually anime fans look at as gimmicks and tropes, but say, oh, you know, either you really like it at face value or you really hate it at face value, but you know, because of how Jobless Reincarnation has been taking what is seen as tropes in modern day and just turning it into a character, I really appreciate that. At this point, it's the perfect opportunity to remove him from that small town village. We've seen enough there, put him into a bigger city, and show him new possibilities, show him new, like, sword styles. I mean, in this episode, he almost dies for a second time. And the fact that he actually reflects on that and is actually terrified of what could happen if he dies again, there's no guarantee he will reincarnate again. He's already ashamed of his previous life. To him, this is his only opportunity to do something that will feel fulfilling by the end. I like that there actually is this fear in his eyes, and you don't get to see that in an isekai character. Generally, they're isekai and they're just happy to be alive. Here, when a sword gets thrown in your face and you realize that if it wasn't for this badass bitch coming in to save the day, you would have ended up dead, and that's probably game over for you. I really like that about the show. There's just so much substance to it, and just every week, there's something new to appreciate, whether it's a new character like Eris in this episode, or you just get the emotional drama with last week and a family nearly falling apart. It's just great to see where the show's going, and I can't wait for more. Let me know your thoughts and feelings, and definitely your theories on where the show could go in the future, and how you're personally liking Eris as a character. Let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, share your support, and hit that subscribe button if you happen to be new around here. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.